Hi, and welcome to The Seeker
and The Skeptic.
I'm Kat, and I'm the flaky, unpredictable, maybe a bit irrational Seeker.
And I'm Rebecca. I'll be your sarcastic, grumpy, close-minded, skeptical host. Or maybe we should just be ourselves.
Sounds good to me. This podcast is going to dive deep into the controversial topics that some may call New Age, or woo-woo, or just plain foolish.
And hopefully look at them with a skeptical but open-minded approach that will encourage understanding and acceptance from both the skeptics
and the seekers. Merry Christmas!
Happy Solstice!
And a joyous Saturnalia to all our ancient Roman listeners.
While I pour the mulled wine, tell us, what question are we answering on today's mini-sode?
Well, it is a contentious one. Should you tell your kids that Father Christmas, aka Santa Claus, is real?
Oof, this could get heated. But before we get into it, remember, if you guys have a question you'd like us to answer, you can contact us via Twitter @SeekerSkeptic or email us at hello@seekerandskeptic.com.
So, when did you first see through the Santa delusion?
They should publish a book on the Santa delusion, I think. And it could be like Richard Dawkins' next big seller. So, I don't know. I don't really remember ever believing in Father Christmas.
Whoa.
I think it was just always a fun game that my family were playing and that I enjoyed playing, but I knew it was a game. Do you know what I mean?
No, not at all. You have a younger brother as well. So,
Yeah.
did he believe in Santa?
I don't think so, no. My dad was like a storyteller. Like, he loved to tell stories. Like, he actually made up off the top of his head stories about characters called Luciana and Peterkins, because my middle name is Lucy and my brother's middle name is Peter, and they were like our alter egos, and they were like fairy type, like pixie type creatures. And he would tell us these stories. So he also told us stories about Father Christmas and did like silly things, like he made footsteps in the snow if there was ever snow, which there never was, and leaving mince pies out that would get eaten and there'd be like crumbs left, and leaving carrots out for the reindeer. But the whole thing was just like a fun game that we were playing as a family. Maybe I did, but I can never remember actually believing.
Right.
And I asked my mum about this, and she said that she was the same. Like, she can't remember ever actually believing in Father Christmas, which is why it's unsurprising, I guess, that she brought us up the same way.
Holy cow, maybe it's like a genetic thing. Maybe there's like a belief gene.
Yeah, maybe. I wonder whether it was like I mean, this wouldn't make sense to my mum, but whether it's like a generational thing, like people of our generation are more likely to believe in Father Christmas because like parents had more disposable income.
Right.
So you're getting more presents, so you're more likely to believe. But then that doesn't explain why I didn't believe. And I never remember it being a conflict either. Like, I never remember like having an argument with a kid at school or anything like that.
Right.
So
it wasn't discussed.
No, it was just this thing. It was like, I don't know, just like any character of myth and legend. Like,
I mean, we also need to discuss the Tooth Fairy at some point.
Yeah.
As well. The Easter Bunny.
So I'm assuming this is not your experience.
Oh, heck no. Okay, so it might come down to me being the last in line, fourth of 4 children. But I believed in Santa until I was approximately 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is late.
This is older than most kids I've found out since. I don't know how it was kept, like, magical for me for that long. And the news was never broken to me. And I really kind of applaud the rest of my family for managing to keep up the charade for that long. Most of them probably assumed that I knew. But anyway, the way I worked it out, which it was like a conclusion, which is very similar. I think we've spoken about it before with my conclusion about God, at least at the time, which was, okay, so it doesn't make any sense logically that Santa can go to every single house in the world, in one night, once a year. The second problem was, okay, so let's say that he is. There are multiple Santas. That was my next theory. I was like, okay, there are multiple Santas. Where do these people come from? What do they do during the rest of the year? I don't believe he lives in a magical land anymore. But let's say he's the postman, right? The postman dresses up as Santa every year and does this. He kind of works for, maybe there's a main Santa in Lapland. I was getting more and more elaborate with my...
I love it, yeah.
And then I don't actually remember when it really cracked, but I think it was just like oh, that's it. Oh, it's actually mum and dad.
So there wasn't one single piece of evidence?
No, this is like a gradual thing, maybe over a couple of Christmases, and then being like, oh man, it's them. Like, it was... Because I think at this point, because I was so old, there was no charade by that point. They weren't trying to convince me. It was probably really obvious. Mum was like wrapping presents, and I was like, what? Isn't Santa meant to be doing that? Like, they normally just appear on Christmas Eve. And even now, like, our presents, if they're from other people, they do appear on the Christmas tree whenever we receive them. It's like, okay, we'll open them on Christmas Day. But Mum and Dad still hide my presents. We don't see them until they get put under the tree, I guess, on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And then in the morning, they're all put out for me.
Yeah.
So, that's still in existence.
Yeah, but it's not like they're trying to trick you.
I hope not.
It would be amazing if
surprised. I
they
wouldn't
still
put it
think
past
you
them.
believe.
It's like, yeah.
And they're like, we can't let her know. We can't let the youngest know.
Right. So, I mean, if you were to have children, let's say your cat fur babies, would you...
Do I lie to my cats about Christmas?
Would you?
I don't lie to my cats about Christmas. They
actually don't celebrate Christmas.
Yeah.
They celebrate Hanukkah.
Catanalia.
Yeah.
If I was ever, this is a very hypothetical discussion because neither of us ever intend to have children. So
No.
it's like,
Until further notice.
But we're happy to give our opinions on what you should do with your kids.
Right.
As all childless people are.
Yeah.
So I think I would do exactly the same thing that was done unto me. Like, I don't think I would say that it was real, but I would do all the traditions and I would make it clear that this is a fun bit of myth making we're doing as a family. And give them that experience of the excitement of seeing, like, the presents. We did that too. Like, the presents wouldn't be there the day before on Christmas Eve, and then they'd appear on Christmas Day. And that was really exciting because you'd see, like, a pile of presents appear out of magic, which would be super exciting. So,
and would you even go as far as to do the footprints? Because all of that is it's really deliberately, like, we did the thing of, like, there would be a carrot half eaten. I don't know who the hell was eating the carrot, but whatever. But
Rudolph. We leave the carrots for Rudolph.
Oh, I know, but I mean, who in real life was doing
good question.
Like, my dad wouldn't have done that anyway. But like, it sounded like your parents really went to the next level. It's not like they were telling you deliberately Santa isn't real. They were actually putting on the full-on thing for you.
Yeah, you know what I'm like. I love doing little silly things and rituals and stuff. I'd probably get super into it and do all that.
You would just have to... The thing is, what if your kids just happen to have the belief gene where they're like, it's very unlikely, but like they actually took that seriously.
Yeah.
You wouldn't really be able to stop that from happening. You wouldn't want to say to them, surely, by the way, little Rebecca, do you know that this is all a story? Or would you just not say anything about it?
I don't know. I think I probably wouldn't until they brought it up. But there's lots of, like, silly things we do with kids. I'm just thinking, like, a kid could watch a movie and think, like, Cinderella was real. Right. You don't need to tell them that Cinderella isn't real. From the context, they know it's not real.
Yeah. I mean, I would bloody hope not. I mean, I will get to that. But, I mean, just as an example, my niece, so she is, I guess, 3. And my dad, so her granddad, was taking her down to the, like, garden. She wanted to, like, go to the end of the garden for some reason. And they saw some lights at the end of the garden. And Dad was like, oh, look, that's where the gnomes are or something.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh shit, gnomes. Let's go back to the house. Like, she believed that they were real. That wasn't a game at that point. She's 3. This is recently. But what I'm trying to say is, my other niece, if you'd said something like that to her, she'd be like, oh, it's like, that's a funny game.
Yeah.
I honestly think that different kids, even early on, have different, like, belief quotas. Like, for some kids, imagination is just imaginations. For other kids, definitely like me, imagination was as real as real.
That's really weird. I was thinking the reason I asked her age is, like, evolutionarily, you can imagine that it would have been good for very young children to just take their parents' word for things. Like, if a parent says, don't go in that body of water, you just don't go in it. Like, no, you don't ask questions. That. You just believe them. Because the kids that ask questions get eaten by alligators or whatever. So that's just not selected for, that questioning gene in young children. And then there must be at some point like that kind of critical thinking capacity in the human mind sort of switches on. I have no idea what age that would be. Probably like
I think 7.
psychologists could tell us.
Yeah, but okay, that's just a guess. But yeah, a lot changes at 7.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So, but still, kids do know the difference between actual stories and reality. So I think maybe it's about how
Presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's difficult. What would you do?
I mean, without a doubt, I would do the whole thing. Christmas is only fun because of kids. Any excuse to just go whole hog with it. And I like the Santa myth. I think everything about it is really fun. I used to really love the Santa films. Although some of them kind of give the game away.
Yeah.
Like, what's the one with, what's his face? Tim Allen? The Tim Allen Santa one.
Oh, I can't remember what it's
really
called. I
good
know the one you mean. Yeah.
Anyway, but all of those are kind of based on the fact that Santa clearly isn't real.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I was watching that fairly young, and even then being like,
you just love propaganda.
Well, so here's the other thing. I mean, there are so many confusing things, but we would go and visit the Santas at like different shops.
Yeah.
Like Hamleys is a toy shop in London, but like basically they had the Santa that you can go and visit. The problem was that the Hamleys of Santa looked very different than the Hamleys of Tesco's. And really, there are pictures of me on both of these Santa's laps, and trust me, I don't think I should have been sitting on the Tesco's.
Oh no.
So I mean, it's that. It's like, how do you keep the story straight? Yeah, it all got very confusing, but I didn't actually question it, like I said, until I was about 10.
That's so weird. So what would you do when your hypothetical little cat turns up to you and says, Mummy, I've noticed that the Tesco Santa you've taken to me to is different.
I would have to give it. Well, I couldn't lie to them.
That's the question. Do you lie when they ask the question?
Maybe I'd ask them questions and be like, well, why do you think they look different?
You do a bit of SE on them.
I would.
How confident are you in your belief that Father Christmas is real? Little cat.
Why do you want to believe that Santa is real? Again, another reason why I shouldn't be a parent.
So you wouldn't lie?
Definitely not.
So I
wouldn't lie
if
if
Father
they
Christmas
asked.
real?
No.
You'd say no.
Certainly not. And I think it could have been a lot worse. Like, I hear stories about kids who somebody at school told them, or like an older sibling told them, and I think that is really shit.
That's what I think. You're kind of setting them up for that. If you let them believe that it's real, then it's not necessarily you doing it in a nice way. That's not the way that they'll stop believing. They might have someone doing it in a horrible way.
I think it's worth the risk because I just want to prolong the magic.
But do you really
I don't want to be the one who busts the bubble.
Are you saying that your childhood was that much more magical than mine? Because I feel like mine was pretty magical.
Dude, I had 10 years of believing Santa is real. That's 10 decent Christmases.
But
it's been
had
downhill
decent
since then.
Oh, no.
But you don't know because you don't know what it's like
That's
to believe
true.
in Santa.
I don't know what it's like to believe in
Fucking
Santa.
good.
But I still feel like I had really amazing Christmases and that they were magical and special. And it was kind of like, I don't know, like I enjoyed being a participant in this game that we were playing as a family, like a make-believe game that we were all playing together. It was like a little,
Yeah,
I think maybe that is the kind of magic in itself.
I then just turned to materialism and got very extra excited about the presents themselves. So I found my Santa in the gift.
In actual physical gifts.
Yeah. So
I did do a little bit of research about this. I found there was a survey in surprise, in 1999. There was a survey of I think it was American children. This is UK children in 1999. 92.5% of parents thought that Father Christmas was real to their children.
Oh, wow.
So that's not quite the same
but
as
we don't know what age the children were.
It's up to the age of 8.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
pretty
huge.
old.
I was surprised by that. And then to contrast, in America, 2011, 83% of 5-year-olds say they do believe that Santa is real.
Fucking hope so.
I would have thought it would be higher in America than here because I feel like it's a bigger deal there. They have like the whole
it's
Coca-Cola
that's where
thing.
Santa comes from.
It is though. It does feel like a very American thing, don't you think?
Sure. Yeah.
And it's funny that we are using Santa and Father Christmas interchangeably. But Americans aren't going, Santa or Papa Noel or whatever you call him.
What's he in America?
Santa.
They don't say Father Christmas?
I don't think so. Listeners, let us know.
What do you call Santa or Father Christmas? Santa Claus.
So you would do all the like half-eaten carrots, eating mince pies,
yeah, I would.
out.
And like what else? I think there was definitely always brandy left out, and that was definitely enjoyed by my parents. And I think I'd probably be also enjoying that. I'd be enjoying the mince pie. So it's win-win all around.
What do we do if hypothetical little Cat and hypothetical little Rebecca meet up And hypothetical little Rebecca has been told that it's all a fun myth that we're participating in as a family.
Yeah.
And little cat is living a horrible lie.
Yeah.
What if little Rebecca lets something slip?
Yeah,
What do you do? Do you say Auntie Rebecca is a liar? Don't listen to a word she says.
I would sue your ass.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? It's going to be coming from other people. So I guess you just have to admit the truth at that point.
I mean, it's going to happen at some point. I was very lucky to have figured it out, I guess, but it's still going to be hard no matter what age. You know?
Did you feel like betrayed?
No. I was a bit like, I think there was a moment of being like, whoa, everyone knew and you didn't. Like, why would you keep that up? Like, why would you lie?
And it's your whole family as well, because it's your 3 older siblings and your parents. That's 5 people constructing this web of lies.
Yeah, I think at that point, I was just so used to being the young one who like just didn't get it.
Oh.
Yeah, I just feel like that.
Not much has changed.
Not much, exactly.
I guess we've got a couple of weeks till Christmas. So should we put this to a Twitter poll? Whether our listeners think, we'll put like something like myth or real, Father Christmas, myth or real, what would you tell your kids?
Yeah. So,
and then we'll let them decide.
So the question won't be like, do you believe in Santa or not? It will be, yeah, would you tell your kids? Have you told your kids? Yeah, great.
Okay, and whoever you side with, I really do hope that all of our listeners have a wonderful holiday season.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Let us know with a tweet or an email. We'd really love to hear about your experiences.
Yes, please tell us what we got wrong. You can email us at hello@seekerandskeptic.com and follow us on Twitter and Instagram @seekerskeptic.
You'll find the show notes for this and every episode at seekerandskeptic.com.
And if you're interested, you can find my skeptically themed comics at rebeccaonpaper.com or follow me on Twitter @RebeccaOnPaper.
And I'm at yoga_astrology on Twitter. And you can find me exploring the intersection of yoga and astrology at yogaandastrology.com.
If you liked what you heard and fancy supporting the show and spreading the word, we'd really appreciate a rating and review in the Apple Podcast Store or wherever you're listening.
Or just tell somebody you know about the show. Thanks for listening.